across the USA, nerdy men, women, and children play Magic the Gathering. An increasingly popular pastime, these cards can be seen in action in homes and game stores spanning from sea to shining sea. Oh look, here's a specimen embodying the native hipster asshole, and he's got some Magic playing cards. Looks like he's going to be doing some deck editing. What cards have you got there, son? Well. Looks like you've got bullying cards such as Smokestack, Winter Orb, and Stasis. What could possibly possess a young man to put such cards into a deck? Has your commander earned a bit of a reputation? Don't you know that your Magic card choices have consequences, son? It's everyone's responsibility to maintain an enjoyable Magic the Gathering environment. Such dumb f***ery inches you and your friends closer and closer to total nuclear fallout. You'll be thrusting your friends into chaos where their only protection will be to duck and cover. Look at these idiots, trying to duck from inevitable death. Do you want to do that to your friends? Let's find a more tactful approach. Now, maybe you're wondering, what else could I possibly do to make my deck fun while avoiding being a total loser McLoser face? Well, let's join the boys from the Legendary Creature podcast and see if they have any ideas.
All right, let's just do this. What are we doing, dude?
It's a good question. So
What are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing?
What are we doing? Like, who did all this? Look at this.
We keep changing like our seating structure.
Dude, I
just gotta.
Dude, this plastic chair gets uncomfortable after a bit. Like, sue me. It's just, now I'm all like a little bit in better shape. A little bit,
My fucking hipster plastic chair. Well, so we kind of have a, I guess a bit of a, I don't know, I guess a subjective topic to cover today.
Yeah.
In that
it's been a while since we've done something like this. Seems like we've done
we do a lot of
set reviews and deck techs.
Yeah.
When's the last time we just talked, dude? How you feeling about Magic the Gathering right now, dude?
I'm feeling well fed.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
That's for sure.
I have a lot of things that I want to spend my money on.
What do you want to spend your money on? Are you gonna buy? When the pre-cons come in? Are you just gonna buy them all?
Yeah,
it's kind of been like your practice.
I think I've done that probably 3 of the years with the pre-con sets. Just bought all the decks.
It's probably a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I like they almost all end up going up in value, so just kind of makes sense.
Unless it's Marath.
Yeah.
That one had just like nothing in it. It had like Wrath of God. I think I remember having.
I actually remember looking at it because when we were kind of getting Elise a little bit into playing, I was kind of looking at
different pre-cons.
Yeah, looking at pre-cons, and I was like, this one has nothing. It's not for you.
Yeah, it's a hard. Yeah, you kind of want to just give him the most powerful one,
right?
Here's the most powerful one because you're new. Like we'll figure it out, but yeah, unless it's like really kind of hard to work your mind around. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of releases. We've got the C18 dropping, then Return to Ravnica.
Fuck yeah!
And then we don't know what's after that. And then there'll probably be another Commander anthology if you're that guy.
Yeah,
which they already reprinted it. They got to reprint Atraxa one more time. The Atraxa deck.
It's Atraxa 3.0.
Just Atraxa again. They've reprinted it 3 times.
Just needs it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
what about our game? What about like what's going on with how we're playing Commander?
So I think we've kind of discovered that we've sort of had this like arms race.
Yeah.
In a manner of speaking.
Yeah.
To define for our listeners, I think Andy's kind of put it as we're sort of tryhards.
Yeah.
We're all interested in winning, but I don't think it's also social for us. So we don't want to we don't want to put together CEDH decks.
Yeah.
But we'll toe that line. Our decks are pretty tuned for the most part. We have some that are kind of like, I don't know, just like pet decks, I suppose. They're just kind of like, oh, it's janky and weird, and let me put this together. But I've noticed the number of those types of decks going down as well, because you can't get anywhere with them at our table.
Yeah, I think our more optimized lists, they prey on decks like that.
Right.
Because they come online quicker and they do their thing quicker. So you're not really able to show anyone your janky interaction that you kind of came up with our player group, because you'll never get there. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's like fun. Like not being able to like do that. Like playing an optimized deck against like a janky one actually isn't fun, even for the like person playing a tuned up list.
Yeah, because you just kind of,
for me, I'm just kind of like
someone.
Cool, right?
Yeah, like if you were to take those decks and take them to the racetrack, like there's a pretty clear cut horse that's better in that context.
So what do you think's driving it? Do you think it's the decks? Do you think it's people's like income? I mean,
yeah, that's so I think there's, like any problem, I think there's many variables. The thing that I noticed when we first started playing Commander was, like you're new to the game, and you just kind of like grab whatever legendary creature is interesting to you, that has the colors that are interesting to you, that maybe does something that's interesting to you, and you maybe don't have a comprehension of power differences.
Yeah.
That was like the first thing that I noticed that like improved my play in Commander was, there is a definite difference in power levels of commanders. And so I think that's one thing, is there's been more picks for powerful commanders. You pointed out to me the other night, like, Kyle, most of your commanders are like, they're powerful commanders.
Yeah, you don't really run weaker lists.
Well, I stopped doing it. My last one that was kind of weak was Lucia.
And you're just fed up with it.
Because she'd just get undone. And so I was like, I can't play these kind of weird things.
It's her mana cost that's prohibitive.
Right.
Honestly.
It is.
Like, she's not that even amazing for how much mana they're asking.
She's really not, but like it's all kind of like on her shoulders, and everybody just kind of
like every Voltron.
Yeah, like everybody that knows, like, has a tuned deck, they've got their removal when they need it.
Right.
So I could never get online.
Maybe we should contextualize this a little for anybody who is tuning into mine and yours therapy session. So what we've kind of noticed is that, absolutely noticed, like over the last maybe year or two, we're seeing a lot of the same, like, for one thing, we're seeing just kind of like the power level of everything is kind of creeping up.
Yeah.
There's like a definite power creep going on.
Yeah.
And the only response to that is, like, your opponents just get more powerful cards. Right. So I want to just use like your Brago deck as an example of like how this is kind of going. I'm not saying it's happening in everybody's deck, but it's pretty acute.
Yeah, I think it's very clear to define what we're talking about.
So Brago started out as Rune of the Hidden Realm. So it was with Gen...
I think that was the second gen of Commander.
Yeah, the Gen 2 commanders. Rune has that is it 4 or 2?
It's 2, but it's a tap as well.
Yeah, 2 and a tap to just basically blink a permanent you control.
Well, it's anybody, because you can use it to clear somebody else's permanent from blocking.
Yeah, but really, like, you're building it
mostly
to do your own, right? Like, you're doing things like the Acidic Slime blink, or Avenger of Zendikar blink, or I guess if you're that guy, into a Craterhoof Behemoth blink. Like, this is what you're looking to do.
Right, exactly.
So you built that, and you were like excited because Flicker.
I love Flicker.
I don't know why. It's not called Flicker.
No,
but that's what people are calling it. Why are we calling it Flicker? I think it was just like the Innistrad.
Yeah, Innistrad kind of had like that language going around.
Yeah. So that is why you wanted it. If I remember right, you're like, dude, I want to just push things in and out of play.
Yeah. So like,
and abuse ETBs.
Like Avacyn Restored had several cards that kind of fit into it. In particular, there was a 1 mana sorcery or instant, I think, Cloud Shift, that just kind of embodied it. But there were like blue cards.
Yeah, that embodies it. Yeah.
There was, I think, Conjurer's Closet was in that same.
It was an Epicenter stored.
Same block, and so there was a lot of stuff in Standard at that time, and we shifted to Commander, and I was just interested in doing that. And Rune came out, and I was like, oh fuck, this is exactly what I want to do. Anyway.
Yeah. But you were playing it, and I don't know what we had going on at the time, but it just wasn't getting the mileage out of it that you wanted. I don't think you won a couple times maybe, but it just wasn't getting there.
Yeah.
And I think Marquisa had come out of the Marquise of the Black Rose, so there was some heavy aggro stuff.
It was hard to keep up with Marquisa.
Yeah, so I don't know. But either way, Brago came out, and Brago was in the deck, and I think that you hit one combat trigger with Brago, and you blinked all of your stuff.
Right.
And you had this moment of, I don't fucking need green for this.
Right.
Like this is the one of those examples where adding another color didn't actually give you the power level, you know, like just think of a commander and just add a color.
Oh yeah.
Right. A lot of them get really kind of crazy if you just added a color.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
They're limited by their color identity. But when Brago came around, it's like, yeah, I mean, having a green Brago would be really annoying.
Fucking nuts.
But still, you know, it wasn't holding Brago back. So you made Brago, and we were just kind of like, whatever, like, yeah, he's got a hit, we'll just block.
Yeah, it was kind of like good stuff ETB.
Yeah, and you worked on it over time. I think you had like, what is that weird enchant that if anything's targeted of yours, you just bounce it to your hand?
Oh, it's what is it? Dissipation filled or something?
No, it's like your own stuff. It's a white-blue enchantment that, like, if anything, like, you were just running stuff like that. Like, you were running just, like, anything and anything that could get bounced was going to get bounced.
Right.
You had, like, I think you were running, like, the Mana War.
Oh, yeah.
The Rishadan Brigands.
Yeah, the Brigands.
Yeah, like, they were all over the place.
Yeah, exactly.
And eventually, like, me and the other people you're playing against are like, yeah, this deck's this thing's fucking annoying. Like, he's getting a lot of mileage out of these cards.
Yeah.
So we start pushing back. Right, I just like, all right, I'm gonna just bring my answer is like, okay, Torpor Orb,
right?
You know, or whatever. Like I'm bringing stuff like that stops the creature side of it. I suppose.
Exactly.
But then Brad's solution was like, well, I'll just attack you.
Yeah.
Or so and so's solution's like, well, I'm just gonna throw in a Containment Priest. It's just hosed. I think it's only creatures that hose.
Sure, but even still,
we're pushing back against this deck, and then you respond with. Pushing it even further. So you're like, well, if I can't do anything, like if I'm going to get aggressed, I'm going to make it harder to aggress me. So then in come like the Frozen Ether and the stasis,
stasis and Winter Orb.
Yeah, stasis and Winter Orb and all that. Like it's becoming a stacks kind of thing.
Right.
Without smokestacks.
Right.
But it's fucked.
Yeah.
You want to keep playing this deck. You like the deck and we're pushing you to keep it in play, but your response is, oh, I'm just going to make it more powerful.
Right.
So I think that's like, that kind of contextualizes what'll happen.
Yeah. And then I think the final step was I added a lot of counter magic as well. Cause I wasn't really running counter magic. I just wanted value. I just wanted to get my value. Don't fuck with me, but clearly you got to fuck with me.
Yeah. And I've had the experience with Mizzix. So starting from the bottom, Mizzix comes out. I play it out of the box. It's kind of out of the box.
Sure.
And then I'm trying to find content that would help me build this thing. This is pretty, you know, I mean, it's kind of like, I'm pretty far into my commander career, but I'm not super into it yet.
Sure.
You know? But I like instances sorceries. And my options up until Mizzix were, I guess, Karanos-ish, which is just a red and blue good stuff's a thing. I don't know. I remember when they spoiled Karanos, I was really disappointed.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And then Melik, who has a prohibitive mana cost, and I really, really don't like top deck manipulation. I just don't like it. It requires too much setup. We talked about it in Vivictus. You know,
it's expensive cards. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, you're playing a card game. Like, I get there's strategies that make it work, like the whole lantern control thing, and like, I get that. You are playing a card game. Like, you are going to draw random events from your randomized deck that must be shuffled at the beginning of the game. Like, it's a lot of resources going into planning off the top. Yeah. But you got to do it. That's just what made Narset so busted, is you really didn't have to if you were going to buy. There was like the Proteus staff thing that people were trying to do for a minute, but why fucking bother? Just keep finding the extra turns and extra combats. Just keep going. Who cares? I don't know. That's my attitude towards top decking.
Sure.
I'm not into it.
Sure.
Miracle, I was always like, whoa. And then every time you draw it, you're like, yeah, but did I want to do this right now? I had a plan.
Yeah, you're like, oh, well, this is here.
Unless it was like temporal, whatever, the temporal mastery.
Oh, yeah, the one that gives you
the one that just gives you,
turns.
yeah, it's like, okay, cool. I'm going to pay 2 to get another untap and draw another card.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Anyway, sorry, Mizzix. So I make the deck, and I remember like, I think it was some dude's like blog spot I went off of. And I don't even think he like updates it anymore. He had like just a blog about Magic. Like he had pretty well thought out stuff.
Okay.
You know, and I don't know, things just get in the way. It's, you know,
Yeah,
you have a life.
It takes a lot of work to maintain doing Magic content, turns out. Right? But, you know, like the people that stick with it, like either they find a way to do it or whatever. But, you know, like some people, like there's content creators that they have really good execution, but you can tell it's their good execution is kind of getting in the way of their life. Right.
This guy's blog spot was that, but he had a Mizzix list on there, and he had something called like the bullshit scale, is what he called it. Yeah, he was talking about like how this list's pretty good, but it's kind of in the middle of the bullshit scale.
Okay.
Like he really wasn't trying to do like the storm thing.
Yeah.
Or pretty much he was trying to avoid the storm thing.
Okay.
So I tried that, and then I mixed in like X spells. You know, I was loading up like every possible X spell I can think of. Like
I think you even had like Syncopate.
Yeah,
and things
Syncopate,
like that.
and then Mind Swipe from Tarkir. And I don't know, I ended up it just did okay, but then I put some buyback cards in there. Like there was a couple in there. There wasn't all of them, but I mean, let's be honest, it was the best ones that were in there, right? And you guys start pushing back because you see a couple games where he's got a capsize on the line.
And he can just keep doing it for just the color cost.
Right. I remember it was when I was living in that attic and I was at the table.
The Wizard Tower.
And yeah, the Wizard Tower, we called it. And somebody was trying to attack me and I just capsized back to the hand for 2 blue. And then we go to your turn and you're like, he's got 8 blue already. He's not tapping out. He's just going his way through this. I can't even go after him. I'm like, send Brago at me. I'll just put him back in your hand. Like an unhexproof Brago was just like, that was my solution. Like, I'll just put him back in your hand. I won't even let him hit anybody else.
Right.
It's isn't going to happen.
And like to the point I couldn't even equip because you're like, don't equip.
Right.
I'll send him back.
Yeah. I've told you that. I was like, don't equip him. And you're like, why? I'm like, you take my option away. I'm not going to let that happen. I'll capsize it. And you're like, motherfucker. You know, and I'd let you do some blinks or whatever, but you had to leave it unequipped the entire game. And then somebody doomblade it because they're not as like, or not doomblade, but whatever. They'd kill it.
Yeah, exactly.
They kill him, and you're like, okay, fuck you. I could have equipped this turns ago. But Andy's like threatening me with a capsize. You know, so you guys start pushing back. The response was just aggro Andy early.
Yeah,
just get his health within striking distance. You don't need to kill him, but just like get him like within, you know. And then, like Graveyard Hate was kind of another thing because I had like that recursive. Oh yeah,
because you had stuff that you could kind of like keep.
Yeah, Mystic Retrieval and Runic Repetition, which is it's a slow fucking setup, but hey, you know, I'm getting all this.
Keep
stuff
it going.
And I had to respond. I wanted to keep playing the deck. I'm getting pushed up against out of a corner, and the only way out is through you guys. You know, so I load it full of like infinite combos. You know, it's the only way. It's like, well, if I can't freaking play the way I want to play, which is like King of the Hill style, where I'm just shoving you guys off the hill every couple minutes, and you keep just doing like gutter snipe triggers. Mm-hmm. Like, this is my only way to keep playing this deck. Yeah. So I took that route. So I feel like just those 2 decks, and we talk about them a lot because I think we've ran them for so long.
Yeah, sure.
I think they illustrate what we're kind of going through with the arms race. That you have a deck, you like the deck, and it functions really well, and then people really, really want to push back against it.
Yeah, and I think there's a typical refinement period that you have with any deck. Like you build it, you kind of realize there's some things that pass through your hand that you don't really care about them being there, or they're not as
they're
useful.
Too situational.
Yeah, like you're like, okay, so this isn't just standard like deck tweaking. Yeah, this is reaching a point where like it's untenable for me to play the way I want to because other people. Oddly, I think a big theme with this is that you reach a point. What I think is telling is when people start engaging in player destruction. The only way to deal with you is to just ram you out of the game.
Brago's definitely on that level.
Yeah,
like the only way to deal with Brago in the end is engage in player destruction.
Right.
You must destroy the player.
And I think that's what was like Mizzix. It was like slit your throat and just let you sit by the side of the road and bleed out.
Right.
Was kind of the thing, you know?
Yeah, and people were pushing back with heavy aggro, and then Cody happened, right? So Cody comes into the game, and he buys the same precon, or not the same precon, but the same generation of precon. He got Mirren, and he's playing with that, but then he like wants to make Talrand.
Yeah.
And Talrand just can't operate with Mizzix around because it just, your Drakes aren't, I'm not threatened by that. Like eventually I'm going to fall into a way to recur Etherize or something.
Sure.
Or even just propaganda. Like that was enough. So his way to deal with Mizzix was increase his level of counter magic.
Right.
Which the response
like a high
is
density.
Yeah. So I think at one point, because of me and him going back and forth with our counter wars, I think at one point I was maybe 7 to 10 counter spells in the deck.
And that's a lot of counter spells in the deck.
It's just boring for me. Like that's the other part. This is like the worst part of this whole kind of experience is that even you behind the deck at the end, like
you stop enjoying it.
You stop enjoying it. Like when's the last time you even played Brago, let alone had fun playing it? When's the last time you had fun playing that deck?
It's been a long time.
Like years probably.
Yeah.
Because of where it's gone, because of how everyone's attitude towards it. I haven't had fun playing Mizzix or played Mizzix like to a, you know. And then what sucks is there's no going back. You can go back and tell everyone, I retooled the deck, it's different.
Yeah,
but two
they now
things
have
happen.
a reputation.
Right. So two things happen. They have a reputation. Either they don't, I don't know how your play group is, right? But either they don't trust you, or there's just some things that you just couldn't do without. Like I wasn't about to take out some of the buyback spells from Mizzix. It was too valuable.
Right.
Taking Capsize out would be really good for everyone else, but come on.
Yeah, like that's
like why would you pass up on
card
buyback
in your deck?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking that stuff out, but what I ended up taking out was like the Firemind's Foresight combo. Yeah. Took that out, like things like that. So I couldn't go infinite anymore. But then I couldn't really get in a position where I could just stay on the hill and just bug people and play Mother May I the whole time. You know? I just was like, well, I'm going to try to do this, and you know, and it didn't work.
Right.
So two things, like I was saying, the reputation, they don't believe you. They treat you the same way, even though you've said, I've changed the deck, and they don't believe you.
Yeah.
And then the other thing happens is that you remember how the deck used to be, and you fucking hate this thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally.
It's like you going from, I don't know, like having a really, this is just like a shitty comparison, but like a really expensive sports car to a Mazda Miata, which are still pretty dope. They're a treasure. They're a treasure from the 90s. But you get what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Like you just don't want to do that anymore.
Well, yeah.
You know?
So I think a specific example, sticking with Brago, like I remember how excited I was when I think it was Commander 2014 that had the monocolor planeswalkers. And in the Teferi deck, there was Well of Ideas.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, this is fucking dope. I'm going to draw so many cards with Brago in this card.
Right. It completely negates the advantage it
Yeah, because you're giving other people card draw, but you're getting so much more
with Brago.
It doesn't even matter. And so, and it was like this exciting feeling, like the first time I got to like play
it's an enchant. It's not like Mold Drifter.
Yeah, it was this thing that it was so exciting to like show off. Like, okay, I know you guys saw this card in the list that came out with the precon, but let me show you how I'm going to abuse it. And it was just this exciting thing to like get so much advantage out of it and like play it. And like you say, there's no going back when you kind of have to like, that card's tainted now because I have to set up all my other shit to try and manage you guys and prevent you guys from just killing me.
And people get all upset when they see it. Like, oh, he's got his card engine out. Oh, he's got his Gilded Lotus set. He's got his mana engine out.
Right.
Like, but you can't take
Get
these
ready
things
for his
out.
lock.
Get ready for the lock. Oh, I don't have any lock effects in there. It's like, yeah, but you still have advantages that people don't want you to have.
Right.
And they're either going to remove them or just try to kill you.
Right.
So I don't know what to say about preventing something like this from happening because it's just kind of just the natural progression of the game. But I think there's a couple things you can do to either slow it down or at least not make it so extreme where you're not playing the deck anymore.
Yeah.
I think the first thing is just when you get to that crossroads, and I don't know how to identify it when it's happening. When you get to that crossroads of, I mean, this might not even work depending on the memory of who you're playing, like if they're playing. But like when you get to the crossroads of the deck's tuned, It's where I want it to be. It could be worse, but it's where I want it to be. But
Right.
everyone's treating it like it's much worse than it is. Just put the deck away and don't play it for like a couple weeks or a couple sessions, because let somebody else come up with something nutty.
Oh yeah.
And that probably should happen too. Like maybe you should just like let somebody else come up with some, like if you're that guy that like all his decks are broken. Ah man, he makes it, all of his decks are just so fucking powerful. Like that reputation is like, that's hard to get to shake.
Yeah, and that's not a good reputation to have either, because I've seen people talk about that on Reddit, and they're usually asking the question, how do I get rid of this guy?
And you're like, you need to make a shitty deck.
Like,
as weird as that sounds.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. At one point, there's just no turning it around. Like this is just like a hard thing to do because you're trying to manage people's like psychology.
Well, yeah,
their,
again, it's very subjective, right?
Yeah,
like
it's so
this is a subjective topic where it's kind of like
therapy session, man.
yeah.
Like,
how do you identify when your deck is fucking so hard and everybody's getting sick of you fucking them?
Honestly, Kyle, I should just start the games with 35 life from now on. Like it is pointless for me to be a fool.
Yeah, and Andy has developed a reputation in our play group of having.
I don't gain life.
There's kind of like this mental clock that everybody has, like it's not presented on the board on the battlefield. It's just something's happening in Andy's hand. Everybody kind of seems to have that, whether it's true or not. Because you have some janky decks that you play right
Lately,
now.
my jank has gone through the roof.
And
I've tried really hard to stave off the.
But that reputation is still there of like, Andy's got something churning in his hand that's going to fuck us.
Yeah, I really.
Which
do
may
want to
not be
start
true.
the game at 35. Like it's pointless for me to stay at 40. I'm always 5 life below everyone else. And I've been blocking a lot more lately. I'm just like, man, I really value this creature, but
Better do it.
it's not gonna stop. I'll just get attacked again. I'll just block,
Yeah.
save myself half the health that I would normally lose. I really value this creature though. Oh well.
Right.
Because it's just I've done that. I did it to myself. Every time anyone pushes, I just push back with load this into the deck and make it more and more difficult.
Yeah.
So I have a couple that I can just like list off that are like that. So like Mizzix is definitely that way. Maresil is extremely difficult to play without people just losing their minds over what I'm up to. Duretti, I don't really get attacked. He gets attacked, which is a little different depending on what's going on. But
Yeah.
Duretti's another one because it just goes off. I
Yeah, like
stopped
that
playing
ultimate's
Mizzix
awful.
altogether because of that.
Yeah.
He was just prohibitive in that I just couldn't deal with it. It was just 6 mana.
Right.
Can't have Saskia coming down and like unloading on you. And then, okay, I need to scramble to get mana just to get this 4/4 piece of shit out that I'll never block with. And then, like, God, I love that dragon. But it was just like, you just can't handle the aggro that, it was starting to look a lot just like Mizzix. A lot of bounce effects and just board wipes and stuff so I can fall into some weird draw combo.
Yeah. You're like, I just need to get there. That's all.
Yeah. So, I've had my share. It's Brago.
I had Kalia that developed the same reputation.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, Kalia has that reputation by herself, but yeah, people got sick of what I was doing, what I could pull off, because too often there was Gisela and Avacyn or Aurelia on the table for me, and
Aurelia,
way
Gisela.
before anybody could develop anything.
Yeah.
And
It's like, hold your removal, Gisela's here.
yeah,
Or hold your removal, Kalia's here. Like, hold your spot removal.
yeah, and that was what it became, was just
You just scrapped it. You couldn't do it anymore.
yeah, because like I'd cast her and everybody would be like, well, this is my chance, because he's going to get something out that makes it so I can't undo him.
So that takes things to a whole other level. It's like engage in player destruction to stop somebody and then do it enough where you've engaged in deck destruction. They've scrapped the deck.
Right.
Like they've just scrapped it. It's happened to Jeff. He's done plenty of decks where we're just like, I don't want to fucking mess with this.
Right.
And what's bad about those is that what he's trying to do just doesn't, he's already at like the ceiling. Like he's already pushed it as far as he can.
Right.
He doesn't, there is no like journey for him. He's just there where I'm already obnoxious,
Skittles and
Yeah.
Eldrazi Titans.
Brad's had it happen with Sheree. I think Sheree, the way he's made Sheree, it's difficult for him to
Yeah.
pilot it because if she sneaks through, if she gets her like advantages set up,
Oh,
she's got like a sadistic hypnotist down and she's
like everybody's shredding their hands.
yeah, we have no hand, we have nothing. And it's like he's just going to keep looping and his life total is going to keep climbing up and then he'll resolve, I don't know, like just, he just makes us all scoop. It's not even like
And that's the funny thing is there's a lot of these decks. It ends up just being a scoop is really what's happening.
And you feel like shit, dude. I don't like winning that way. I hate just.
Yeah. So we've kind of identified this problem. Like there's this sort of power creep that happens with our decks where they develop a reputation and we know that there's a next level we can take it in order to keep the deck playing, keep the deck so that it can get around how people are responding to it.
Right.
And that kind of brings it to this point where its power is so great that it's not even, you don't derive satisfaction out of playing it anymore. The play group doesn't like playing against it anymore. So
that's shitty.
So what do we do? What do we do to keep our beloved commanders in the fold?
Well, I think tooling them down, I think aside from, I think for me and you specifically, we need to retire Mizzix and Brago.
Oh, for sure. Those two are gone.
It sucks, but come on. Like I thought about it last night. I'm just going to put it back to the way it was. Everyone just could fuck off. I'm not going to like winning. Yeah. Everyone's going to be, I'm here to like socialize and have fun with everybody. I'm not really here to like, I am there to win, but that is actually kind of a 1.5 objective, you know? Objective,
it's
or a 1A objective. Objective 1 is I want to
socialize,
play commander and hang out.
Yeah.
You know, objective 1A is win. Right. Objective 1B is have that really good sandwich again. God, I think it was so good.
Dude, it's been, 2 days since you had that really good sandwich?
So 2 days ago, I had one of the best sandwiches I've ever had. It was called a Sloppy Joe. And it's not what you think is a Sloppy Joe. It's like this pastrami like a pastrami sandwich had sex with like a Big Mac. It was stupid, dude, on like a good, really amazing marble rye with coleslaw on it.
Okay, so
we're gonna find. We need to find a picture of it and
We'll just post that in the
so
video.
people go, you know what? That looks like a damn good sandwich.
A really good sandwich.
Yeah, it was worth derailing the podcast to talk about that sandwich.
We don't have any. We don't have any sponsors, but we're telling you, I'm a fucking vegetarian, but you need to go eat that fucking Sloppy Joe.
So to say again, objective 1 is to hang out and play commander. Objective 1A is to win, and objective 1B is to have that sandwich. But yeah, I'm not really interested. I was thinking that like I'm just gonna put Mizzix back to where it was at, where I liked playing it, but everyone else hated it. But I don't know, man. It's got to go. I don't think I can play it anymore with everybody. Just how it is.
No, I've kind of there's that like that principle of the law of sunk costs, right?
Yeah.
You know, where like if you as a company are investing in a project and like you keep getting the feedback that the project isn't working, it's derailed. Mm-hmm. There's this sort of weird psychological thing where people just think like, well, let's just throw money at it. We really want to get that thing done because they're thinking, I already invested 20 million in it. Let's put another 10 million in.
Yeah.
And see where it goes. It's the same thing here. It's like, no, it's over. You got to scrap the project.
It's a sunk cost.
Yeah. Like you spent it, you spent the money on it. You did your thing with it. You got out of it what you were going to get out of it. Time to move on to the next project. I hate it because I'm sentimental.
Oh, I'm way hella sentimental.
Like but I think I've been coming to that as we've been considering talking about this. I've been kind of coming to terms with, there's a lifespan for my decks. They're like pets. They're gonna die.
That's a good analogy too. Like it just lives its lifespan, and people either figured it out and you can't play it anymore, or it's just not fun anymore, or both.
Yeah, like Mizzix has arthritic hips. Like needs to.
So there's a solution. You just retire decks. Like, guys, it's gone. I'm done.
Right.
You know, it's just play your taps, bury it in the backyard with the leg lamp. Like it's just gone.
Yeah.
What's another solution?
Well, I like what you were kind of alluding to a few minutes ago in that, like, set it aside for a while.
So bench it.
Yeah, like bench it. And I think, you know, that may range from bench it for a few weeks, to bench it for months,
depending how bad it is.
Yeah, because we know that there is a meta game going on with Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, and it'll shift. They might have removed cards.
Yeah, things evolve. Like there may be something else that becomes more powerful. You know, maybe if I had like set Brago aside and hadn't like powered him the fuck up.
Yeah.
And then somebody comes to the table with Muldrotha, you know, maybe they're fucking begging for Brago to come back. Like
yeah, that's funny.
You know,
he's not
like,
the hero we want, but he's the hero we deserve.
Right. Like, and you know, so I think that may be an option where you can kind of bench them for a while, maybe see if the metagame evolves enough to where they can fit back in before you go and tool it up to where it's just broken. Because I said it so many times with Brago, I'm like,
but that's not an option once you've done that.
Right. Exactly.
Because we're past that.
Yeah, you can't put the shaving cream back in the can. Like it's fucking out.
We already tried that. we tried benching it. You didn't play Brago for months.
Yeah.
Brought it back, and you're like, all right, stasis. And everyone's like, motherfucking.
Right.
Oh my God.
Because I remember saying to people for a long time, like when people would bitch and moan about Brago, I'd be like, it's not as bad as it could be. I don't have all the combos in it, and I knew I could do the stack stuff.
Mm-hmm. Counted for nothing, man. They were engaging in player destruction.
I was trying to.
I didn't listen to you.
Right.
I'm like, fuck it, dude. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm coming after you.
And nobody likes it when a fucking winter orb or stasis hits the table.
Yeah. So we've got retire the deck altogether. That's the most extreme. Like, okay, we're too far in.
Yeah.
And yeah. And again, to just kind of itemize what we're talking about, like this is because do you really want everyone like tooling their decks up to the same level?
Right.
If you're trying to not be in that like competitive Magic turn 4 range.
Sure.
Why did you get into Commander? Was it because you weren't into the 2 turns and you win Legacy, 1 turn you win in, like, you know what I mean? Was it the cost? Did you want to play Battlecruiser Magic? What were the reasons you got into it? If the reasons you got into it was just like, it's a really neat format and I like the competitive aspect, but with multiple people, then this entire episode doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, you can stop right now.
Right.
Go buy your Sloppy Joe sandwich.
And just kill people on turn 4.
Yeah, do it.
Then, yeah, that's cool. But for us, it's not why we started playing this.
Right.
We wanted to like hang out and have a casual thing for a while. You know, we wanted it to be cool. We wanted to see like people peak and go, whoa, that was pretty sick.
Like you fucking got off, dude.
Yeah, but I don't know. And then, yeah, either bench it for a while. I think the big thing is to recognize like when you're getting the pushback, not to take it further, not to take it down the road of degeneracy where you're like, here we know. No one is gonna like this, but I still won
because like
just don't turn that. You're gonna kill your own deck if you do that.
Yeah, because what we're talking about here is sort of making sure if you are not a competitive EDH play group, making sure that you understand where the line is, because like you can walk up to that line with these commanders, but your play group will respond. You have kind of an idea that you've sort of been, I don't know, trying to figure out.
Yeah, I don't know how to figure this one out though. And this is more of like more extreme. It's not like on a personal level of like, so far everything we've talked about is only you doing something, only me doing something. And I guess
before we get into your idea, do you think there's other things that you can do aside from like benching your commander or just retiring it?
Well, I've really tried to make jank decks for pretty much a year now, and I'm still starting at 35 health every game. So I don't know. I was about to say like just make a jank deck and maybe people will just be like, oh yeah, cool, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not that guy anymore. Maybe he's gone through rehab and he's not such a No, I still get it. I still get the freaking pushback.
Sure.
Well, I'm trying to think. Have I made that many jank? I feel like I have. I think the thing is that the janky decks that I have, I call them janky when I'm comparing them to the decks I was making last year.
Sure.
You know. They are only compared to that, but compared to a real jank deck, that's like the word jank is
it's pretty nebulous.
It's pretty nebulous. Yeah, like to somebody who plays modern, everything's jank.
Sure,
you know, if you to somebody who plays legacy, like fucking modern is jank. Like you know, like yeah, like why can't you have days? I'm playing legacy. You know, so.
But I think what you've done is
I mean, come on, Zur Astral Slide.
Yeah, you've done Zur Astral Slide. You've done like a 4-color pingers deck.
Yeah.
You've done your like red artifacts, but you've toned down your combos pretty heavily.
They're pretty high CMC, and I need many of them.
Yeah, like there's a lot of pieces high
it's
CMC.
Not Jehoira.
You do Maresil, which Maresil's powerful if
Yeah.
you can keep it online.
God, I hate that freaking deck.
I don't know, but there's been a shift in your style, which is something I've been trying to do, is shift my style. I used to be very heavily white. I've been trying to shift to other colors, being more dependent on other colors, where it's kind of like, yeah, I'm not playing Brago. I'm not playing that stuff. I'm playing stuff
as per my New
out of
Year's
my
resolutions. I've got 3 white decks that I built just this year.
True.
With white in their identity. They're not mono white, but one of them is.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe that's a third option that you individually can do, is you can shift the style that you're playing with, which essentially is just basically saying still bench your commander.
Yeah. You bench your commander.
But it has sort of like it sort of maybe demonstrates an ethical shift in your life.
Yeah.
Like you said, you've gone to drug rehab.
Right. And then how you do that, like what I found is you either look for alternative ways to build a commander. That seems to just jankify it right away. So with Zur, I did the whole like astral slide.
Yeah, the cycling astral slide.
That was just an alternative way that Zur facilitates very well, probably better than any other commander, and how to pull it off, because you can tutor the said enchantment right away.
Sure.
Reducing the budget that you're willing to spend. That can be really fun. Because really you can build more decks. Like if you're like, I'm not doing this for the money.
Yeah.
Like I have enough to fund this hobby. I've decided I'm going to allot this amount of spending on this game. Well, think how much you could accomplish if
you can stretch
the
that
budget
out
deck
over
to
more.
deck was lower. So those two things kind of like bring your deck power down.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
And then going out of your comfort zone to play stuff that you're like, you could have an optimized version of something that you're not. So like 8.5 Tails.
Oh, sure.
Like this just really wasn't my wheelhouse. Like playing mono white wasn't really my thing. So
yeah.
I'm doing things that oh shit, that was a misplay.
It's a fun thing for me to play against you with 8.5 Tails, because I'm just kind of like, I'm not accustomed to you playing that at all. And I'm like, whoa, how's he going to handle this?
What are you doing? Jalum Tum to draw a card?
What are you doing?
Yeah, I say it all the time. You got to take what you can get. But yeah, those are ways to do it.
Right.
But then I would say over all of that, you really got to change your value system. If you want, because last year to this year, man, I was winning. Oh, I don't know how. I don't know like a percentage, but I was winning a lot more.
Sure.
I was for fucking sure winning more than I am this year. But I've had to value winning less. I had to bump up the value scale of that.
Yeah, that 1A is suddenly like a little little lower on that.
I mean, it's probably now like a 1B after the sandwich though. It's now like
last Saturday it definitely was.
Saturday it went down to 1B is my objective, you know. But yeah, you have to change how you value the game. Like how you know, there are people, they don't really care about winning. I do care about winning, but there's people like, I don't really care. And this is just another just kind of like duh episode of those people.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like, well, who does that? Who puts stasis in a deck? You fucking idiot.
You immoral ass.
Yeah, what did you think was going to happen? You know, you just fulfilled your own destiny with that card. Now you killed your own deck. Should have put in your deck.
I just think of like Daniel Day-Lewis and There Will Be Blood. Like he just getting baptized now. Like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, give me the blood, Lord.
Yeah.
Like that's what's happening now.
So I think that's on an individual level. That's what you can kind of do to kind of manage the power creep. Because people aren't really going to be like, I got to improve this deck. It never wins. Like they're not really thinking that because they win more often. Yeah, sure. I don't know. Something about it just won. It's like, yeah, because, you know, you're not really facing like the bullshit that you were last year.
Right.
And everyone just has, I don't know, they have more fun because one guy isn't taking it.
Sure.
Every game.
Sure.
Right.
So I kind of like pushed you to start talking about this other idea, and then I was like, hold on, let's come back. So what's this idea that you've sort of been playing with of? It requires a little buy-in, I think, from the group.
Yeah,
your play group, but
yeah, it does. So what you're going to need to get your group to agree on is selling their Magic collection and start playing Yu-Gi-Oh. And then rebuying it and realizing this game it doesn't matter how oppressive the Magic decks are, the Yu-Gi-Oh decks are 1,000 times worse. That's the idea. Just kidding.
Well, we're not going to be doing this podcast anymore. It's going to turn into a Yu-Gi-Oh podcast.
It's a Yu-Gi-Oh podcast. I know nothing about Yu-Gi-Oh.
Me too.
All I know is there's some blonde-haired, blue-eyed dragon or some shit that's like this shit. That's all I know. That's the only thing I know. And some guy named Exodus.
Just kidding.
Okay.
We're still here.
The actual idea is kind of running a list of stuff that you guys just don't want to see played anymore. I wouldn't call it a ban list. You're basically saying like everything that we've built up until now, it goes into like a Hall of Fame kind of idea. Like this is a Hall of Fame deck or whatever. I don't know how you want to word it, but that's pretty much what you're going for. You're not retroactively pulling the stuff out of your decks.
Yeah, so if your decks are built a certain way, like you keep them that way, but going forward for some period of time, you're just kind of like, you know what? We're all building powered down decks that don't have. I
think now is a good time to if you're suffering from something like this, like if your deck play group is kind of becoming stale, like ours. I think this is really the thing we're trying to fight off is staleness. It's not really power level so much. It's just feel bads and staleness.
Yeah, because
if I had a really strong deck and you had a really strong deck, I don't think I'm really pissed off about that. I never felt like super pissed about Brago when I had a powerful deck to respond with it. But then the guys caught in between this power struggle, they're the ones that get fucking left out. So I want to contextualize what we're saying again. We're not trying to like power down our meta more than we're just trying to remove the staleness of it and remove
so like
shitty decks that are not shitty decks, but shitty feelings that come with some of these decks.
Right, because like it becomes sort of overly formulaic to know that, okay, this person has a Soul Ring opening, they have much higher odds.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
This person that casts a Cyclonic Rift has much higher odds of winning.
Now after, like this is their game for a couple turns if we can't get this together. Right. And if they can close their deal, we're done.
Yeah. So combating some of that type of stuff
is our objective.
Is the objective here.
Right. So if you're going to do this where you've tried everything, you just can't get you're just not getting the play group back into like a healthy sitting. Maybe you want to talk about just like, we're not playing these specific cards anymore.
Yeah.
Whatever they are. So coming up with that list is kind of where we've run into like there's a problem. So one, it becomes extremely subjective almost right away. Once you say, so let's say I declare I don't want to see Soul Ring anymore. And everyone's going to tell me, well, we don't want to see your Cyclonic Rifts anymore. And then I'm going to say back, well, if I don't have Cyclonic Rift, then I don't want to see
Teferi's Protection,
Crater Hoof Behemoth or something. Like it just goes back and forth. Like it becomes just a ban heavy whatever. And then when you're finally sitting down ready to play with these new restrictions, somebody might play something that someone forgot about. And now because all these
that should be on the list.
Right. And if we're being very real, like we really don't know what the environment would be like with some of these cards removed. So like I'll use like an outside of Magic example. Like I remember reading somewhere in an article that they were getting pretty close to figuring out a way to eradicate mosquitoes from the environment. Like they don't exist anymore. We've sterilized them all. It's in a couple years, in 5-10 years, they can't reproduce. Planet Earth will no longer be home to mosquito. And aside from like some mutation that everyone's worried about it like happening, what does that do to the environment? Like, do we know what mosquitoes do, what they don't do? Like,
how's that impact the ecosystem?
Yeah, the variables are just too. I mean, this isn't like I'm not saying that removing Soul Ring from your play group is the equivalent of making mosquitoes extinct. But I'm just saying, like, we don't really know what could happen to the blue player now that they don't have the tools that kept them in the game before.
Right.
What leaks did that, like, what kind of things did that keep from leaking in? Did the aggro strategies just swing so wide now that there's really not a lot of reason to play blue anymore much? When you take Chaos Warp away from
the red players.
Right. Things like that. Like, I don't know if that would be somebody's first pick to fucking ban off.
So to kind of add some context to what we've been thinking is we wanted to have an impartial list.
But where do you get one?
To reference?
Where do you get an impartial list about this?
Yeah, and so we've kind of been looking at, but there's sort of a challenge with it a little bit, like you said, because it's hard to predict what the outcome is. Specifically, Andy's been the one researching this more. Of looking at EDH Rec and looking at all the top cards,
and we just wipe them out.
Like you just when you're building a deck, let's say we're going to do this for a year to kind of spice up, or do it for 6 months. So any decks that are built over the next 6 months in our play group, you have to look at EDH Rec's top cards.
And those cards.
And if it's on that list, you can't put it in your deck.
Can't be on it.
You shouldn't have put it in your deck.
So this kind of leads me back to the whole mosquito thing. Like, I don't know what exactly these cards are doing to keep the meta where it's at. I'm worried about what removing specific cards would do. And then a lot of things about that list, they're included because there's just really popular commanders. So like one that stuck out to me on that list, like if you just hit top cards, like you don't really filter anything.
Yeah, you're not looking at top color or
first
something.
First two are readily, it's obvious why they're there. It's Soul Ring and then Cyclonic Rift. Those are the two biggest cards in the format, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at Soul Ring, it's like, well, why is it Soul Ring? Is it because they're just, or not Soul Ring, Cyclonic Rift? Like, why is it Cyclonic Rift? Is it because blue is just a really popular color in Commander and everywhere?
Well,
and
to contextualize how they construct those
of all
lists.
time, you run into a lot of blue commanders. There's Yidris, fucking, Misatraxa. Like, that's the reason why it shows up.
To contextualize how those lists are constructed on EDH Rec, they give you a percentage. Like Cyclonic Rift is in 57% of decks that it could possibly be in, meaning it has blue in its typing.
Yeah.
And so that's how they're ranked on EDH Rec, like those percentages. Like it's the decks they could possibly be in.
But it's not how many blue decks exist, because that is going to add up. How many blue decks are brought to their sample?
Yeah, so it's not saying like
how many blue decks are
it's not
submitted
saying
to
like,
tapped out. And
Cyclonic Rift is in 1 million decks and Chaos Warp is in 500,000 decks, and there's more blue decks than red decks. No, it's like what they do to kind of make them, to kind of balance it, is Cyclonic Rift is in 57% of all decks that have blue in them. Chaos Warp is in 40% of all decks that have red in them.
Right, but then why, if that's true, I mean, I know it's true, but I'm like, but then why does like Utter End fall on this list?
It's a good question.
Because there's a ton. So I'll tell you why. Alicia and Atraxa, that's why. Yeah. And Queen Marquesa. So 3 of the top all-time biggest commanders have black-white in their typing.
Right.
So the sample is skewed because of that many observations where black and white exist.
Sure.
So suddenly it's floating into the top.
Yeah.
They're just objectively good cards for that color.
So you're right. Like there is a little bit of a weird situation where we can't, like the data on EDH Rec is maybe a little hard to kind of like determine what's actually, I don't know, maybe like the most commonly seen things in your own meta.
But it gives you a good idea.
But it gives you a good start.
I don't see somebody shooting like a Anguished Unmaking and I'm like, God damn it, I'm so goddamn sick of that card. Jesus.
Right.
I'm not really saying that list is, I think it's a good starting point, because if you make it off of your own people's votes, like if you're like, hey guys, it's been pretty shitty, right? I mean, nobody's having fun. And we want to try to manage things. Like, let's come up with a list. You give me 10 cards. You give me 10 cards. Even if it was like 5 cards a piece from your entire play group, it's going to get all over the place really quick. You'll have cards where you're like, okay, I don't know why you don't want that played.
Sure.
Because me, it's like, I don't want Kodama's Reach and Cultivate played if by a green player.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Well, that card's not that crazy. It is for everyone who isn't playing green. Mm-hmm. There's a reason, like, it just gives you a huge advantage.
Because I'm having to ramp through rocks.
Like, I want you to play the objectively shitty Explosive Vegetation, which is a bad card.
Yeah.
That's what I want you to play. You get your damn lands, but it's a bad card. Because I can't do that. I don't have the ability to do that in the colors I've chosen.
Right.
Well, then I don't want you playing Cyclonic Rift. And I'm like, okay. So I'm just going to find something else, but I get it. I get why you don't want to see that from me. Or I don't want you playing Counterspell. I get it.
So So I would be interested to hear from our listeners if there's anything they've done along these lines. I mean, obviously you can kind of play.
Oh, we have no fucking clue what we're doing. We're just bitching. That's all this is.
Yeah. Because like you could play different formats where you do like Pauper. You do.
Don't do it.
I think it
Don't
inevitably we end
even-
up talking about these things. Like I think there was a while where we were like, let's maybe do tiny leaders, and
Don't do it.
you never get around to that kind of
I
stuff.
don't think that's. I mean, do what you want, but to me, like that's not a solution to this.
This
Playing a different format.
Yeah,
Or sorry, not a different format. A different configuration of Commander. I think Commander is as good as Magic can give you in a multiplayer setting. I don't think Magic can give you something as good as what you're getting here.
Agreed.
Two-headed giant is a who can get critical mass and swing and or who lands a board wipe on who or something like that.
Yeah.
That's just how two-headed giant is. It's too linear. It's who's gonna get whose deck is gonna control the game long enough for his other half to build up an aggro situation where the blocks become uneven and they win.
Yeah.
This is our limited experience with it, but that just seems
That's
how
what it
works.
seems to
Control
happen.
player, aggro player, or they both just fucking run huge aggro and just storm the other guys, and that's that.
Right.
It's very you're getting 4 people together to play two-headed giant. That's what you'll get. If you try to play Pauper, EDH, where an uncommon is your commander and everything else is commons, I hope you have 2 years to finish the game because the board wipe density doesn't exist.
Yeah.
There is no way to clear the board. The creatures don't get big enough, even when you have a life total of like I think it's 30 or 20 in that as something whatever. And then there's some just really busted ones that are they're just strong because they don't really think about uncommons being commanders. Tiny leaders it's silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just silly. And then brawl like it
rotates.
we're not doing that this year. Or sorry, this 3-month interval. It
I saw somebody
rotates.
actually post on Reddit the other day. They're like, "Is Brawl already a dead format?"
Yeah, it went just like Frontier did.
Yeah, just disappeared. So anyway, I think to me, because I think what happens is there's plenty of people or plenty of play groups that they get into doing like theme decks, or like I think I did Thassa with like all my seafaring type stuff, and you did kind of a something around Perforos.
Yeah, that was interesting to do. I think the other thing is that if you're going to take it out to other people, like you're going to try to manage the way the play group's going with the rest of your play group, you all have to kind of like the next time we do this, these are the decks that we need to make this happen. So like for our idea of like, okay, we're doing our Geneva convention, we're doing our Hague conference, we're doing our Salt 1 and Salt 2, like that's what we're going for.
Right.
We need to have everyone online this next time, like by a day we choose, because the decks I'm making, I can't have them go up against the ones that already exist. It won't be fun for me.
So the way we've sold it to our group has been like the next deck you build and the subsequent decks for whatever period of time we determine are kind of on this, we're stripping out this list of cards from your possibilities. And so we'll get together and we'll play these decks. Only these types of decks that have this kind of build will play against each other. And that's not to say that like, oh, we're not playing our other decks anymore. It just adds this element of flavor to it where we're building with different restrictions. We're building having to be more creative because I think it kind of pushes us in this position where it's almost like you're doing budget building a little bit, because now you're not buying those expensive cards, because a lot of those cards that are popular, they're expensive
because everyone wants them,
because like they get in everybody's hands and they're just hard to get a hold of. And so, like I think it kind of adds a few things to your group's flavor, I guess, and the experience. And meanwhile, you still have these other decks you can play. Like you can grab your Brago and Mizzix and bring them to the table now and then, and they're maybe set in a better power match with each other than because you're playing these other weird different decks, I guess.
Yeah.
In a different context.
Budget. You could do a hard limit on budget.
Yeah.
Which I've always worried about doing that because of how I don't know. I think you and I have a good kind of a good price catalog in our head. We kind of know what's worth some money, but you could just say like the budget, like the deck itself can only be worth $50.
Yeah. These solutions require...
That would actually fucking put a hose on a lot of that stuff. Like, what's Cyclonic Rift up to now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that card's usually anywhere from like $5 to $15.
That would eat up, like almost a third of my budget.
Yeah, like you're...
Like, I don't know if I'm not that into it. A third of my budget is now, because I have like a limit.
Right.
You know, that could do it too, if you just say, guys, like from here on out, like for the next 6 months. But that's another thing, is like everyone has to, like, let's say no one's really in the market to make a new deck right now. You'd have to ask them to, like, ask everyone to come up with $50 in your play group, you know. And this is of course if you have a static group of people that you play with.
Sure.
So, like, you know, I don't even think this is a problem for people who don't, but
probably not.
The next time we meet, I want to have like a budget game, and that gets stale really quick, and eventually it'll get rolling, you know.
Yeah.
Like where everyone's making budget decks every 6 months, so then now there's 2 that they can choose from, or 3.
Yeah.
You know, where we can rotate them in or out. You know, so like probably the best way to do this is like at the beginning of your game night, you do your hardcore whatever decks, and then when people start getting sick of each other, you switch to the freaking budget stuff. Mm-hmm. That way people aren't so fucking pissed at each other anymore, because we kind of get salty the longer we go.
Oh yeah.
Gonna get like a little miffed off about you killed me last year, I'm attacking you now. Like that whole like...
Yeah, like there's a cumulative game that's being played over the course of a night, I notice.
There is a cumulative game.
Where it's like,
yeah,
Cam, you won 2 games. Like I'm fucking coming at you, dude.
Yeah,
like
maybe that
I literally have nothing developed, but you've won.
That happened last time we played. He's like, the only thing that happened is I played these 2 cards. Everything that I did, I only did these 2 things. And everyone's like, oh. But we can't even, we're just seeing red about him.
Right.
Because he won 2 games in a row.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That happens.
I think that's honestly like probably the solution I like the most out of all of them. That way I'm not having to manage a list, you know? And and it is on like kind of like a Boy Scouts honor thing. Like, I mean, I'll know if I see an extremely expensive card.
Sure.
If somebody casts a Cyclonic Rift, they'll be like, you really want to eat up a third of your budget for that? You know? But again, that card in the face of all the other budget cards might fucking swing it.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
1/7, like that might swing it so bad that like the other ones can't recover because they're just so dirtily slow.
Yeah, it's true.
So you could set a limit on individual cards. Like none of them individually.
Yeah, you can't have a card that's over $5. Like,
well, that's still pretty high if you want to stay under 50.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Staying under 50 is hard, man.
That's a lot of work.
Right. To which I would refer people to the Budget Brews Reddit. It's pretty dope. I'd look there for stuff. Well, they have like contests and things going on. Like it's a cool community because people are having to be creative. Like I was like, man, I want to submit a deck, see if I can win a contest from other Magic players. Like they vote on them, you know?
Yeah.
I remember one guy's name was like, it was something like Bukake something was his like it was like his username, and he won. And I'm like, man, his deck's cool. And then somebody had commented like, well, I like your deck better than it was like Bukake on my French fries or something. It was something just like food and Bukake. And the guy was like, well, I like your deck more than the
visual of your name.
Yeah, like the potential of your username happening in real life.
That's pretty funny. So I kind of want to like, I don't know, I guess.
But what do you want to do, Kyle? What do you think will work for us?
Well, I kind of would like to see us do, I think it would be interesting to do, everybody do budget lists, because I guess to me, like, let me back up a little bit. I like to kind of look for maybe an underlying principle with a subjective topic like this, and just kind of see like, okay, if instead of trying to give specific advice, what's something general that people can do? And what I think you and I are saying is we need to have
the problems in the cards.
Yeah, we need to have a dialogue with our group.
Yeah, there's that too.
You know, and I see this come up quite often in Reddit discussions. We've been asked by people where they have somebody that sort of embodies what you and I described, like about our Brago or Mizzix decks.
Yeah.
Where they have somebody in their group that kind of embodies that. They have a really powerful deck that the only way that they can deal with it, well, they haven't figured out how to deal with it. And they're on the trajectory of they're going to figure out that they have to do it with player destruction.
Yeah.
And I think
I hate giving that advice too. Like I hate being like, we'll just kill the fucking guy.
And I don't want to, I don't encourage that. But what I usually say is you as a group, because this is what happened with our early days in Commander, you as a group have to say, dude, this guy's fucking out of control. We need to put these types of answers into our decks. So it forces everybody to adjust their decks. That's dialogue. Like that was like you and Brad adjusted your decks to deal with Reese and my tokens when we first started playing.
Yeah, it's a really easy example, but yeah, I get what you mean.
But what I'm saying is like the underlying principle is talk and figure it out. Like I think it would be fun for us to do budget decks because I think it would be easy to talk everybody into that. Like,
yeah, they'd be like, all right, I really don't want to be like,
yeah, because there's several people in our group that they don't build decks that often because budget is their prohibition, right? That's their barrier. Like they build a handful of decks, build one occasionally. You and I build decks more frequently.
So how heavy-handed do we get with this? Do we say from now on, this is it? Like when we say we're doing a budget game, where's your deck? We're going to be playing them from now on. Well, it's not like that's the thing about, this is kind of what I'm thinking is like, if we just hint at or say we're asking for it to happen, I don't know if anyone's actually going to do it.
No, we would have to say like, okay, a month from now, every night there's going to be a budget game.
And what if they don't have the decks?
You got to have a budget deck, or you
don't play,
or you're not coming to church.
Yeah, or we don't play because no one did it, and only me and you did it.
Sure,
you know
we've experienced that.
That's happened.
That happened with our two-headed giant thing.
Yeah. So I don't know how to like make it like force the issue without telling people like this is how we're gonna do this.
It's a good question.
I think it'll be easier with my group, our group, because I think we all kind of have this like, malaise about this, about how the play group, the direction it's going. Like we're just kind of sick of, I'm just so sick of fucking seeing turn 1 soul rings and stuff.
Yeah.
Not that doesn't meet the budget. It's not a super expensive card right now, but
sure,
it's going to have to, I don't know, that's going to eat up a lot of space, I guess. A lot of it might fall into, oh, I already had this card. It's like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about you spending more money. I'm talking about like, like it's kind of like Warhammer. You know how like Warhammer works? You agree on a point value between your armies, and you would hope that they're aligned correctly, that, a 500 point army, which is really small, and another 500 point army would be,
approximately
powered, but that's not always the case because it's just the sheer amount of variables that exist in that game.
Huh.
But like, we just say, okay, $50, or we agree on a number. Like I think 100's kind of a lot. I think we'll probably see a lot of the same things still.
Yeah.
Not a lot. I mean, not to an nth degree. We all decide on a number.
But it restricts you because like you're having to make choices. So when we did a Traxable, this is a high budget, but it was approximately $250. And like you do start making cuts because you're just kind of like, yeah, I have a few powerful cards in here. I would have a few more, but I'm trying to stay in that budget range.
50's pretty restrictive. 50's like good. That's a pretty restrictive.
Yeah, like that's when you're like really scraping around for.
Think of the cards you're gonna cast, man. There's gonna be.
Yeah, you're gonna do some weird stuff.
There's gonna be weird shit tonight. So
and
maybe we need to vote and find out what people are comfortable doing.
I think so, but
one of us is just gonna have to pull the trigger and be like, "Hey, this is what we're doing."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, don't make me save money. Don't do that.
Yeah, no, God forbid.
And then we'll see how it goes. It might be boring. We might be like, man, these kind of strategies really get away from everybody pretty easily. And in this budget range, it seems to be this kind of thing is really strong. I could see artifacts getting pretty strong. I mean, you don't have KCI. Like, you wouldn't be having some pretty busted artifacts.
Sure.
But I think in Congress, some of that stuff might be. And the other thing is like a lot of the staples are answers.
Yeah.
That now they're just not available because they're answers to just other people's nonsense.
But I kind of like the idea of saying everybody needs to have budget decks and still kind of keeping other deck building in play. So then you kind of have some choice. Like, man, if you want to get that fucking nickel bolas and sink a bunch of money into it, cool. But you got to have your budget deck too.
Yeah. I like that. I think both sides of the coin have their own problems. I think the budget range stuff has their own problems with, I'm kind of just my intuition's kind of telling me like
There's
I bet there's specific strategies.
There's going to be the cream that rises to the top.
Yeah, dude. Like I really think like in that budget range, there's going to be stuff that just sticks out. I don't know what they are, you know. Like I think there's going to be stuff that's like, God, this is really fucking hard to deal with because I wish I had these cards, but I don't have them.
Sure.
But then the other side of that is I'm really just kind of the staleness.
Yeah.
And that should go away because I'm just going to, all right, I'm just going to get through this budget game and get back to the decks I like to play. But at least this way I'm feeling like I'm not,
Yeah,
you know what
playing
I mean?
something different.
Yeah, everyone's not getting annoyed at,
Yeah.
you know, like, dude, how many soul rings did you open up with this tonight or whatever? There's just, I don't know. Not that happens a lot. And there was one night where it's like, dude, I saw, what was it, Shea Oldred? I think we saw like 4 or 5 Shea Oldreds.
Oh.
It was
Elish Norn.
Yeah, well, there was some cloning and there was like some reanimation bullshit too. But like,
yeah, but there were probably at least 2 Elish Norn cards, and then there was cloning and reanimation and stealing. And
yeah, I feel like we saw a bunch of Elish Norns.
It never left the board.
Yeah, in one form or another. Yeah. So yeah, I just don't feel like that's gonna happen if we pull the trigger on that. Budget alternatives.
Okay.
We're probably just gonna have to do an episode about that. I think people like that idea.
Yeah,
right?
we've had requests for that, and I think to listeners that have asked for that, like anybody that asks for us to do topics.
Okay.
I just want to kind of put this out there, like thank you. Like
we for sure hear it.
Like we do hear you. We appreciate the ideas.
Even
and
if
stuff.
we don't like it, we're like, yeah, but they want to hear it, so we better do it.
Yeah, and we do have to kind of filter through topics a little bit and make sure we contextualize it. The other thing is that Andy and I like to make sure that we aren't just re-articulating things that other content creators are doing.
Yeah, we try really hard not to do that.
Like we don't want to, like, I don't know. Like we had one recently where we had a topic we were thinking about, and Command Zone put an episode out like right as we were about to record it, and we were like, oh, well, never mind.
Yeah.
Anyways, but thank you to everybody. Like that's one I think we haven't been able to figure out the budget thing,
right.
Like figure out a context to do it. But maybe this kind of provides.
And then the other thing
that.
is like the release schedule. Like if cards are coming out or sets are coming out, like we pretty much have to be on top of that. So like right now as we speak, it's spoiler season. And we're like trying to keep it out of this episode. But like I'm like checking checking the stuff right now. Yeah, like I'm looking for it, but it's not contextual to this episode.
Sure.
It's going to come out the week of spoilers, and you're going to look at our podcast, raw or queue and be like, they're not talking about the commanders. It's commander stuff. It's like, well, we need time to prepare it.
Yeah.
And think about it.
Right.
And do our best not to like misevaluate Dominaria. But that kind of came out of nowhere. Like
That's
I was
true.
just like,
we were
get
just
on top
dunked
of it.
on.
Yeah. But and there's a lot of shit that came, but yeah, things like that. That also is like, if you want us to do a topic, we'll do it. Even if we don't really want to do it, we'll be like, you want to hear it. You're our guy. You're our girl.
You're the audience.
But if you're thinking like, man, I wish they'd do this for me. If it's probably because of the release stuff.
Right.
Like we're constantly having to do like, this shit's coming out. This shit's coming out. Like we have to talk about it.
Right. But coming back to it, I think you're right. Like doing a budget list, a budget episode, that's something that's been asked for. I think we'll probably be better prepared to do something like that, engaging in this kind of a project of, okay, let's get our group on board to do budget decks. Because we're, I don't know, there's other people that are better at budget stuff. There's all these content creators that like all they're doing is budget stuff. Yeah.
They crack out a lot of content.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go into the realm of it's so convoluted that you can only play with these kind of people to like they kind of, and it's hard for us too. We try to keep our meta experience out of it, except for this episode, of course. Yeah. But we have a very high removal, like answers meta. That's like our thing.
Yeah. Like,
but content creators where you listen, like you watch or listen to their stuff, and it's like, yeah, they're in a slower meta and they don't get answered a lot.
Yeah, they're not dealing with some of the stuff we're dealing with.
Or ones that are hyper competitive and it's like just very focused. It doesn't want to answer anybody else's stuff. It just wants to go off, and they don't consider a lot of strategies or commanders because they can't achieve what they're trying to do faster than their opponents.
Yeah.
And then, like the opposite side of that spectrum is they clearly play in a budget setting, and everyone else plays in a budget setting, and it's draft chaff the commander deck. You know what I mean? Like, we're trying not to bring our meta into it, but it's hard. It's hard. You know, a lot of our deck lists, like they're high removal density.
Oh,
you know? Like a lot of density.
I know that I do a lot of that.
We have a t-shirt.
Yeah, always provision, enchant, and artifact hate.
Yeah.
It's gotta have it.
So yeah, we'll have to do the whole like Kyle and Andy budget spin thing for sure.
Yeah, I'm into it. All right, dude. So we need to propose this to our group and move forward with some kind of alternative to just yoking off.
I think it's a good time to do it. The commander decks are coming out.
Yeah.
Right? I think we'll all...
People will be excited to build new commanders, new decks, and we just kind of insert that as a, hey, while you're doing that, build a budget deck.
Like, I'm not asking you. I'm telling you, God damn it.
Like, you fucking have to.
Just so we can try it. Maybe a couple, you know, like whatever budget you were going to do, can you just make 2 shitty decks? That's his budget range. You know, whatever you were going to do with that crazy guy, like, can you just like make 2 of something else?
It's like what we call it. Like, this is our shitty deck game.
Honestly. Yeah, our shitty deck game.
Do you feel better, Andy? Do you feel like...
I honestly don't. I don't know. I don't feel like I worked it. Do you feel like we worked anything out with this? I don't.
That's what I was just thinking. I'm like, did we land somewhere that's good?
Who does this?
Like,
who wastes their listeners' times with just like
Brago and
Kyle,
Mizzix?
let's get behind the microphone and just bitch about shit.
We do bitch a lot.
We do, dude. We're a bunch of freaking bitches for sure. Just a bunch of malcontents. You know?
Hey, you know, we are what we are. But yeah, I'm curious if it feels better because we're just like, Brago and Mizzix are still going to get retired. Yeah. We already fucked that up though.
And I blame that's
on us.
My takeaway from that is that it's my own fault. Like I should have just, okay, they're pushing back. They really don't like this deck. I just need to put it on the shelf for a bit because I like it, and let some other guy make something crazy, and then everyone shifts, and then I bring it back.
There's just that competitiveness in you sometimes, right? Where you're just like, I gotta show them, like, you can't fucking corner me. I can do this.
I'm definitely that guy, but I know the end game. Like, there's just as soon as you win that game, it's like, yeah. And then the deck just it lives in that curse of you just like, you know. But then, yeah.
I'm satisfied enough. I think we have something figured out that we want to try out. I don't know that it's the answer. But then again, are there any answers to really subjective experiential problems?
No. No. Trying to correct this might make just another problem, you know. It's like the United States foreign policy.
Right.
Or just every country's foreign policy. It's anarchy. There's no president of commander, you know, like,
right.
At least in your play group, like it's just nobody telling everybody what to do. Everybody's just playing by their own.
So, you know, get some people in your tribe together and tell them like, we're going to try to start a fire.
I'm just trying to put down the Kessig malcontents, man. Like, that's what we're all turning into. Just a bunch of
just like, you're gonna tear down everything.
I'm so sick of this goddamn game. I'm gonna sell I'm quitting. I'm taking a hiatus. I'm quitting. I don't know. I'm gonna sell my stuff or whatever the response is.
Sure.
All right, well, let's give it a shot.
All right, we'll give it a shot, dude.